All right, now that we've completed the geometry for the part and also the annotations, let's go ahead and do the page setup for our presentation. We're going to switch over to the A size paper. Actually, we need the portrait. All right, take a look at your home tab, look at your layers. Make sure that viewport layer is on. You might need to adjust your viewport. Okay. Once you have adjusted the boundaries of the viewport, you can double click here. You can do a zoom extents, and then you want to set the appropriate scale. We have here a scale of 1:1. Okay. Double click outside of the viewport, and then we could freeze the viewport layer. Let's take a look at the title block here. I'm going to adjust the title, problem 2-6. Just update your date and scale. This is 1:1. And remember, for your sheet, this should be 6:6, right? Okay. And just go ahead and make sure you update all the other information there. Lastly, I want to double check for my page setup. I want to create a new page setup here. We'll make it PDF to letter. All right, make sure you're using DWG to PDF. Make sure that we've got the right letter size paper there. We could do window, we could do extents. We have scale 1:1 for the paper itself. We're using the color table. We can preview. If you like what we see, exit. Make sure you click OK here and set current this newly created page setup. And then we should see this update. When you plot this, make sure you save it as a PDF in your PDF output. All right? And that's problem 2-6. Okay, we're going to take a look at problem 2-2. Let's first start with the modeling, and then we'll proceed with annotations and then the page setup. So first thing is we want to go ahead and set up our construction lines there, and then also set up some reference lines so that we can locate the main features. So if I zoom in here, you're going to see we've got some concentric circles. Okay, pay attention to where the arm edges are aligned, where that start point is. Also, you'll need to do some counting here to determine the angle that defines the tooth here. And if we look at this closely, we can see that we can do one corner of this interior of the part, and then simply mirror, and then mirror both sides to the other half. We can also do only one tooth here and then do the polar array. So let's start. I'm going to begin with my project template. I'll switch over to the model space, turn off my grid. Really quick to check my units. Let me type in units. I want to take a look at my precision. I have 3 decimal places, which is enough. I'm going to start first with the center layer. Start with a construction line, a vertical construction line, just anywhere in the drawing there, and then we'll do a horizontal construction line. Okay, and as we proceed here, I want to go ahead and start with the concentric circles. So I'll switch layers to the object layer, start with circle. You can see there the dimensions that are provided, they're in diameter. So what we want to do here is just type D for diameter, enter, and then punch in our first circle at 4250. Okay, so that's our outer circle there. We got another concentric circle that is a diameter of 4, and then we have the 350, again concentric. And then as we come into the interior, we've got a 0.375. So again, D for diameter, 0.375. All right. And again, we want to think about just working in one corner of this part. We've got some typical dimensions here that we can review. So from the vertical, we have a 10-degree incline for one part of the arm. If we just mirror that, we get the whole arm. For our teeth angle here, if we count up all of the teeth and we divide that into 360 degrees, you're going to determine a 10-degree angle there. Okay, so again, it's going to be really important to pinpoint where you're starting these angle axes from, right? So you can see this is the intersection of that second concentric circle, and here we are starting from the very center, coming out 10 degrees from the horizontal. So let's say we work in this top upper right corner. Okay, just to start first with a line, let's say from this point here. Now if you pay attention to your polar settings here, you can see I have 15 degrees. I'm going to set it to 10. That way from 270 I could find my 280, right? And then just cross the midpoint there. Alright, now to do the other side here, all I need to do is a mirror, and what I'll use is the center with a 45-degree line right here, right? 45-degree line. So I'll need to go ahead and check again my polar tracking, or my polar angles there. Right, there's the 45 degrees, so it's just a mirror line there. Alright, so now you can better see the interior of the part here that we want to create, part of the arm here and part of the arm here. And as we mirror this, once we have it trimmed off, we'll be able to complete the interior of the part. So what we have here is average or typical 0.130 radii. So if I do the fillet, F fillet, and R for radius, we're going to do that at 0.130. Okay, and we'll go ahead and select our edges there. And you'll notice that this radius here is 0.250. So let's go back into fillet, change the radius to 0.250, and then we have that. Now you can see we have the leftover of the circle, but I'm going to use these two fillet edges as my trimming edges. Hit enter, and then we could trim off the excess. Okay, so to complete the interior, all I'll do here is select that feature and use mirror. We'll go from the center along the vertical axis there. We'll come back and select both features now. Let's deselect that center circle in case we picked it up. And then now we'll mirror, once again using the center, and now using a point along the horizontal. Okay, so there's the interior of our part. The next thing that we want to do is take a look at how we're going to develop this tooth, right? And then complete it as a pattern using the circular or polar array. Alright, so as I said before, it's a 10-degree angle. So what I'll do here is starting from the center, okay, double check here that we have the right polar tracking setting. I'm going to set it back to 10. So 10 degrees from 90, we have 80 degrees. And what I'll do now is simply use a polyline. Polyline to start from this intersection to this intersection to come back to this intersection here. That itself will be the pattern that gets repeated through 360 equally. Okay, so let's remove this construction line here, temporary line that I have. I'll place these other concentric circles on the hidden layer. It'll just be shown there for reference to dimension to. And now what I'll do is I'll select this part or that feature and use the polar array. Alright, I want to choose again the concentric center as the base point there, and then you'll see up here your properties. Now I know that there's 36 of these teeth because I counted, right? And they're equally spaced 10 degrees between each other through 360 degrees. Alright, click OK to accept that, and that pretty much completes the modeling. In the next video we'll take a look at doing the annotations. Okay, now to annotate the model here, what we're going to do is, if we take a look at our presentation scale, we're going to be using letter size portrait, and it's going to be 1:1 scale. Okay, so before I do anything else, let's double check to make sure our scale is set correctly. We have it at 1:1 here, and we've got our annotation visibility filter on just for this scale. Now I want to trim off those reference lines a little bit, so I'm going to offset 0.25 one of these outer circles here, and then use that temporarily to trim off these reference lines, and then delete that offset. Alright, the next thing that we want to do is we can work our way in from the outside. Let's start with switching the layer to the DIMS layer. We'll switch our tab to the Annotate tab here. Take a look at your dimensions. We've got an angular dimension. Okay, just double check here for the scale. Click OK. I'm going to click on the reference line and then on that vertical edge from the tooth, and then pull out my dimension. Okay, and for our presentation we'll want to make sure that we can show this as 10 degrees typical, so use ED and select the text. Use ED, select the text, and then add your TYP to one side of that. Go ahead and do that in capitals. All right. And you can see if it pushes it out, that's fine. You're going to have lots more room to make your adjustments there. And then we could go back to the top right corner and then use our diameter dimension here to set the 4250. Again, to set the 4. And then to set the 350. Alright, in this area here we could take a look at our radius. Okay, we can pull that out. We could add, using ED again, our typical note. We've got a diameter here. Place that in there. And then again our typical radius for the inside fillet, which I'll try to squeeze right into here. Now you'll notice that if you need to avoid confusion, you could bring it to the outside, but try to put it in an area where you're minimizing the overlap. Okay? Try to make it as clear as possible without any, or minimizing the overlap as well. So here we've got radius 250 typical as well, so ED, select it, put in your text, and then lastly we've got this angular dimension here. We could put it in like that. If we wanted to, we could select the text. Notice how if I hover over the grip, I have these options here to modify my text. I can move the text alone just to fit it into the space where I want it, for example. Okay, and that's annotations. In the next video, let's take a look at the page setup. Alright, now that we've completed the geometry for the part and also the annotations, let's go ahead and do the page setup for our presentation. We're going to switch over to the A-size paper. Actually, we need the portrait. Alright, take a look at your home tab, look at your layers, make sure that viewport layer is on. You might need to adjust your viewport. Okay. Once you have adjusted the boundaries of the viewport, you can double click here. You can do a zoom extents, and then you want to set the appropriate scale. We have here a scale of 1:1. Okay. Double click outside of the viewport, and then we could freeze the viewport layer. Let's take a look at the title block here. I'm going to adjust the title, problem 2-6. Just update your date and scale. This is 1:1. And remember, for your sheet, this should be 6 of 6, right? Okay. And just go ahead and make sure you update all the other information there. Lastly, I want to double check for my page setup. I want to create a new page setup here. We'll make it PDF to letter. Alright, make sure you're using DWG to PDF. Make sure that we've got the right letter size paper there. We could do window, we could do extents. We have scale 1:1 for the paper itself. We're using the color table. We can preview. If we like what we see, exit. Make sure you click OK here and set current this newly created page setup. And then we should see this update. When you plot this, make sure you save it as a PDF in your PDF output. Alright? And that's problem 2-6.